To all of Russ and Lori's friends and family, I want to apologize. We had some issues here at Bluegrass where the audio was not captured for the homily. And I wanted to just do another run through so that you can hear how we celebrated Russ's life. A lot of it I can't reconstruct, but I wanted to just honor him so that you could share in our moments where we celebrated his life and what a wonderful person he was. My name's Pam Lee Miller. I'm one of the pastors here at Bluegrass United Church of Christ. And it was a great honor to get to officiate Russ's celebration. I had not known them for a long time, but I've come to love Lori and love the relationship that she and Russ had. And it was an honor to be asked to officiate it. So I want to just run through my homily one more time as we remember the life of a man who lived well, who loved deeply, and who made an impact in the world. And once again, I'm sorry that you did not get to hear it all at that one time when we celebrated. So I'm sending you all prayers for comfort today and prayers of love. I didn't know Russ personally. I'd only met him twice. Once when he and Lori visited the church back before the pandemic hit, it was probably a handshake at the best. And then last Friday after he and Lori had returned home from the hospital. On that day, Russ was sleeping peacefully in their living room with Lori by his side in her rocker, stroking his arm and talking to him lovingly. It was a tender scene to observe, and I felt honored to get to be part of it for just a few minutes. You know, I'm sure Russ was laughing as Lori handed me that spray bottle to hold as she let in their beloved pets. Whitman, he just came over and sniffed, but Fletcher loved me. And I bet he loves everybody just the same. But he kept crawling right up on my lap little by little until I showed him that spray bottle. You see, just for a few minutes, I was allowed to absorb life in a home where love and adoration was tangible. Even as Russ slept, his energy in the room was big, and I could feel that he had a joyful spirit. And I could imagine him telling jokes and being the center of attention as Lori told me more about her husband. It was so obvious she loved and adored him. As a pastor, not every home one goes into during these situations is filled with such wonder. I was looking at Russ's Facebook, and underneath his name it said, "Living the Life." As I've gotten to know him through stories, it's apparent that Russ lived life fully and deeply, and that he worked hard, and that he was joyful, and that he loved life, and he loved his life in that little home. Lori did well by Russ those last few days. If only every person could be surrounded in that kind of peace with the people who love them most unconditionally, people would be able to transition a lot more peacefully. Russ touched so many people in his life, and the ripples of his love will continue to spread throughout the world through the people he touched so deeply. Much of his life he spent working with young people, either teaching or coaching. You know, it takes a lot of patience and love to be good at both teaching and coaching. I once read that a coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to hear, a person who sees what you don't want to see in yourself and stands cheering you on, encouraging you to be who he knew you could always be. When I was looking at the post people left for Russ, a former softball player wrote, "Russ was my softball coach. He benched me over a bad attitude, and I never forgot it. You know, Russ was right. I absolutely deserved it." Good coaches do hard things in order to influence and help people grow into all they can be. Others talked about his umpiring and how they missed having him on the field. He influenced one person so much with one of his sayings, "When pigs fly," they began using it on their students and their own children. And when they got a a white car that they didn't like. They painted the car with flying pigs, and underneath it had that caption, "When pigs fly." That's a lot of influence right there for somebody to paint pigs on a car just because Russ said that when they were growing up. I hear he was always kind, and I could feel he really cared about all of us kids. That's what one of Russ's students said. Don't we all want somebody to think we were kind? I know I do. I think we often wonder what people say when we get to the end of our life, and I'd be proud if people even spoke a fraction about me like they did Russ. He lived his life well. One of his former pastors told me, Russ lived his life with energy and zest, and he focused on what he loved. He was a hard worker, and people genuinely liked him. He joked and kidded a lot, but he never did so in a way that was ever hurtful. Russ had a lot of energy, and he was driven always. She told me that he was athletic and loved sports, and not only loved watching them, he loved being driven to participate in them and to push his body. The gift I have received from Russ as I've learned about him is this. I want to be like him. I want to spend the rest of my life focused on doing what I love, because when we do what we love and focus on those we love, everything else seems to fall in place. Lori and Russ met later in life, but it sounds as if Russ was smitten with Lori long before their first date. Lori told me Russ picked her up at the college where she was teaching, and they went for a long walk in St. Paul, Minnesota, and then they went for coffee. Lori said when they got to the coffee shop that she learned that Russ didn't even like coffee. You see, Russ wanted to do whatever Lori felt comfortable with. And the rest is history some 16 years later. Lori, these years it is apparent that Russ loved you well, and you did the same. They traveled a lot, saw a lot of golf courses, searching for logo golf balls, touring professional and university athletic buildings, and finding daylilies to plant in Russ's garden. He taught Lori about new things like football and golf. Lori, in the history of all his life, it is apparent you were his favorite thing in spite of his love of sports. I hear that he loved you so much, and he loved surprising you. I was told he even went around sneaking, getting pictures of all your Goldens painted as a sweet surprise for you. What a blessing you all were to each other, and oh, the lives you touched together. While I did not know Russ personally, I've come to believe that much of his character and drive had to have come from an upbringing in a faithful home. The way he loved, the way he influenced, the joy he brought, and the inspiration he shared with so many, I believe had to come from the love of God that was beaten in Russ's heart. Somehow, that God love got deep in his bones at an early age. We are never going to know how many kids became more because Coach Russ clapped them on. We will never know how many students he taught succeeded because he loved them deeply and nurtured them. We will never know how many people he touched as he did his umpire work. Russ was living the life because he knew that life was worth living. And when we think about it, isn't that all we want? To love deeply, to touch people's lives, and to change the world in whatever way we can. We can find comfort today knowing that nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever separate us from the love of God in Christ. That is good news for us. And it was wonderful news on that night when the spirit of Russ was called home. I can just about hear and imagine how it must have went. Hey, Russ, come on, get up. We got some softball games that need officiating. Grab those cleats and your referee shirt. Get up and get ready. We're heading on home. And as his spirit rose from the shell in which it had been housed, no more pain, no more suffering to be had. As Russ transitioned from here to there, he entered into the womb of all that is and all that was and all that will be. A place from which we all came and a place to which we all shall return. I believe I can almost imagine the Creator cuddling Russ and whispering, "Welcome home, Russ. Great game you played down there. I'm so proud of your work. Well done, Russ, well done." Now for the rest of us, we will abide faith and hope and love. But the greatest is love. And nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever separate us. And that is good news in our days to come. You know, love like Russ left, it never dies. It doesn't. It just keeps getting passed on as goodness in the world. May each of us learn from his legacy and live life spending time focused on what we love most. May we work hard and spread joy. May we love deeply and passionately, just like our brother Russ, and change the world in big and small ways, just like he did. May it be so for every one of us who ever heard about Russ. May it be so. Amen.